Brandy here with Butterfry Taco Plans, and today I'm going to be filming my first ever tutorial on using the silhouette. So I've had a few friends that have recently purchased silhouettes, and I've had quite a few questions, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so good at teaching this to me, you should record some videos for other people. So if you didn't know, my day job is I'm a teacher, and I'm also an Etsy shop owner, so I'm using the Silhouette software quite frequently. So I just wanted to do a quick tutorial today on how to import stickers into the Silhouette program, and I'm sorry, not stickers, just images in general. And then if you wanted to make that item a sticker, how you could do that. So again, if you are new to my channel, welcome. And if you're returning, I'm so happy that you came back to watch another video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you can be notified anytime that I make videos in the future. So I am going to go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is, for this tutorial purposes, I'm going to just select an image on Google that I can use for making my stickers. So let me minimize this screen. I'm just going in through Safari. I'll type in Google here, and let's search for one of my favorite things. I'll search for butterfly clip art. Most of the images that I have in my shop, I have either drawn myself or have purchased from other Etsy shops. So I don't necessarily recommend, if you're going to do stickers, to get them from Google because of copyright issues and things like that. So I'm just showing you, again, this for tutorial purposes. Once you find your image or send it into your software, they all work the same. So I love this one. I think it's very pretty. So in order for me to copy this one, I'm going to hit Shift Command and 4 on my keyboard, and that will allow me to take a screenshot of the image. And then you basically just drag your mouse across the image so that you have this little gray box behind it. So, and then once you do that, you'll see in the bottom right hand corner, I now have a screenshot. So now that that is done, I can go ahead and exit Safari. And again, just in case you didn't catch it, that's Shift Command 4. That will allow you to take a screenshot of something. So I'm back at my Silhouette software. And the easiest way, I think, for you to get, I'm sorry, let me move my screen over. An image that you just screenshotted would be to slide your screen over a little bit, and then you can drag this image directly into your Silhouette software. And then I'm going to go ahead and maximize this screen again so that you're not looking at things in notification bar that you don't really need. So now that I have this image here, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, I am using a MacBook. So I know for PC users, this process is a little bit different. But yeah, I really can't show you how to do it for a PC. Sorry about that. But for the Mac, because I know the functionality is a little bit different. But once you get your image into the Silhouette software, the process is pretty much the same. So I have this image. I'm going to blow it up just so you can see it a little bit better. And the first thing I want to do is trace this so that I can get this grid spot behind it off of there. So I'm going to open my trace tool. To me, this reminds me of like a butterfly or even like a loaf of bread over here, but it says open the trace panel, has two little holes at the top. Then I'm going to select my trace area, and again, highlight the entire image. And I can kind of close it in here. Then over here, you'll see your threshold. And I like to just kind of move it up until the majority of my image is yellow. So you can either use this up arrow to do it. I typically start at about 90 and then either move up or down depending on my image. So as you can see, at 90%, it covers the majority of the butterfly. 96 is too much because then you're also getting the grid behind. So we'll leave it at about this 90. I'm gonna go back to 90 because I like the lines that are a little bit cleaner through here at 90%, or yeah, 90%. So then I'm going to trace and detach. And it doesn't look like it did anything, but if I click on this outside image, I'm able to now see this box that separates. I prefer to try to remove the outside box versus moving this because sometimes these images, the pictures inside of them will separate. And so it's kind of a pain to have to put them back together. So I prefer to just pull the square out behind. So I'm going to do that one more time just so you can kind of see what that looks like. Let me undo. So okay. So again, I have my image here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. Select my trace area by hitting this little button over here. I know, yes. I'm going to select my trace area over here. Move it back up to 90%. There's trace, and then click trace and detach on the bottom and move the box away. So now that that's selected, I can go ahead and delete that because I no longer need it. Now I can move this around, and as you can see, everything in this particular image is attached. Let's say that it wasn't. Well, no, because it's not going to let me show you. Anyway, everything on this image is attached, so we're going to just leave it alone. Now, if I wanted to cut and print this, I would have to first set up my page. So I'm going to be using my portrait to cut this out. So I keep that at 8.5 by 11 inches letter size. And then I'm going to change it to my portrait so that you can see the matte behind it changed. The red line around the outside is my cut border. The gray line on the inside shows the print border. So you want to make sure that you keep everything within the gray and the red lines. Now, in order to print this image, I would have to also turn on my registration marks. And these are just the marks that the silhouette needs in order for it to read, I guess, the file per se. So without those marks, it's going to cut, but it will not print and cut. So I try to keep the registration marks at the default. So it just typically works better on my machine for some reason. You can switch them if you want to make them a little bit smaller, just so that you can get more images on there. But sometimes my machine, it just gets crazy if it's not at the default. So then, now that I have this image, I have my page set up the way that I want it to, I can go ahead and open, this is called the offset panel. And this basically just tells your machine what it needs to cut. So I have the offset lines. These also can be adjusted. So it automatically defaults to 0.125. You can either leave those as they are, or if you want your lines, your white line around here where you can see like that white border, if you want a little bit tighter, you can just shrink it down just a little bit, and that'll leave less white space that'll be around your image once it's printed and cut it. Print and cut it. Oh my gosh. Print and cut. If you'd like a little bit more space, again, you can always kind of go up, and that'll just add a larger white space around. So it really is just a matter of your own personal preference. For stickers, I like my lines to be a little tight. So again, I usually start at about the 0.9 range and then adjust as needed. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave this here. and we'll click apply, and that will now leave your registration mark around your image. So then the next step for me is always to connect these two, which I'm going to have to minimize my screen a little bit just so you can see this other toolbar up here. So I am going to drag my mouse across so that both the offset line and the image are selected. And then up here, this is group selected shape. So I'm going to group them together. So now when I move them around, you have one solid shape. So before I group them together, if I were to move something, as you can see, I have my butterfly and then I have my offset line separate. You don't want that. You want them to definitely be together. So again, I'm going to drag my mouse across both of them, similar to how you would select multiple files that you have saved. I'm going to drag my mouse across both of them, and then I'm going to hit this group tool, and now I have multiple. So because I wouldn't want a sticker to be 5 inches wide, I'm going to shrink this down some. So I can shrink it here using this little arrow tool. This will allow me to adjust the width and the height. If you want it to be so that it adjusts both at the same time, you want to click this lock tool here. And then let's say I want it to be 3 inches. I don't know, that's probably still a little big for a sticker, but that's okay. So as you can see, it automatically adjusted the length and the height. I didn't have to go through and do them both at the same time. 3 inches I feel like is a little bit big. So let's bring it down to 2. And then now I would like to have an entire sheet of these. So I'm going to select it, click Command and D, and that duplicates it. And so I can keep putting them on here just to kind of fill up the page. And that is that. So now I have 9 beautiful butterflies on here. If I was going to print these off, I would then go and click the print button here. These are the settings that I use, just your basic, printer settings, except for I click on photo paper. It really just depends on your printer and, its capabilities and what you can do here. And then of course you would click print here. And then once it's done printing, you would take it, put it on your, in my case, my portrait mat. I'll have to line it up the way that it, calls for it to be lined up. And then I'm going to load the mat into my portrait and then click on send. So once you click on send, you want to make sure that the line tool is selected, because simple doesn't really give you many options. But here's the line tool, and you can see these red lines around here is exactly what it's going to cut. So over here then, because I'm making stickers, I'm going to leave it at sticker paper white. And then let me revert this back to what it looks like. So your, I'm not sure what this little dial is. It automatically is going to be set to 2. Your speed is automatically going to be set to 8. You're more than welcome to adjust that. I typically do not mess with the dial or the speed. And then your force is going to be set to 14, and then passes are set to 1. Now, I am not able to cut any sticker paper at a 14 because it is too strong for my particular sticker paper. So for the one I use in my shop, which is like a premium matte kind of paper, I have to bring my force down to a 5 or 6. I also have some of the like Avery label paper that I'm able to cut on, and it may be at a 6 or a 7. So you kind of have to just play around with the force to see what works better for your machine, because every machine, depending on the blade, and if it's a new blade or if it's an old blade, they all kind of work a little bit differently, as well as the sticker paper. If you have new sticker paper or old sticker paper, I'm sorry, not new or old, but new paper versus some, higher quality versus cheaper quality paper. Again, it just is different depending on your material. So the only thing I typically play with is the force, because obviously you want it to do like a kiss cut. You don't want it to necessarily cut all the way through if you're doing a whole sheet. If you do want it to cut it all the way through, then you could probably leave it at this 14 and it'll cut out each little butterfly, so you'll have individual butterfly stickers. So again, it just kind of depends on what you are going to do with that. So anyway, that is the end of this tutorial. Hope you enjoyed it. Please give it a thumbs up, and also don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel if you have not already done so. If you have any additional questions, be sure to leave them down in the comments below. I'd love to assist as much as possible. And as always, have a good day, friends. Goodbye.